Hi, I'm Tim. Thank you for joining me in this video. I'm going to give you in this video an update on when remote ID is going to start directly from the FAA, September 2nd, 2023. Let's get to it. Today is September 2nd, 2023. The hot topic everywhere for RC modelers is the start date of remote ID. Remote ID is a new regulation from the FAA, came into effect in 2021. And what happens is when remote ID comes into effect, right now the date is September 16th, 2023, literally 2 weeks from today, all unmanned aircraft, RC model aircraft, fixed wings, helicopters, drones, flying in the United States that are for recreational flyers, 250 grams or over, need to have remote ID. Remote ID are some electronics that broadcast information about the drone's flight path, takeoff location, speed, altitude, and so forth. There are three areas of the remote ID ruling. Standard remote ID is built in at the factory. These apply to ready-to-fly drones sold after December 22nd, 2022. If you have built your own model, an older drone with remote ID, or an ARF that doesn't have the remote ID installed, you have to put on a remote ID module. And then the third area is a FRIA, FAA Recognized Identification Area. Those are areas approved by the FAA. In this video, I'll associate FRIAs with the Academy of Model Aeronautics flying sites. If you fly your models in a FRIA, you do not need any remote ID equipment whatsoever. You just fly as you were normally. Now, the issue that is getting everybody excited, to include me, is we are 2 weeks out from the September 16th start date for remote ID. If you don't have remote ID after September 16th, technically you are illegal to fly your drone in the United States unless you're in a FRIA. So let's talk about the FRIAs, for example, because it'll be part of the overall discussion. Per the FAA regulation, all FRIAs have to be requested by a community-based organization. There's laws in the tax code what a CBO is. On the FAA website, there are 4 community-based organizations. The Academy of Model Aeronautics is one of them. They were the first one. As of about a week ago, the AMA has approved 700 FRIAs. There are 200 that have been denied, and there are about another 800 FRIAs in the application process. They're being approved daily. It appears the reason that FRIAs are being denied is because the boundaries of the FRIA are over buildings or places where the public congregates. People may be that aren't aware that modelers are flying. The FAA gets to be very careful about any danger to the unsuspecting public of aviation activities. So some of those FRIA denials are being resubmitted and approved. That is still a subject to be determined. If your FRIA application is denied, as an aside, you can still fly your RC model airplanes. You just need to have a remote ID in that aircraft. It does not close the flying site. The other big aspect that's causing angst among modelers is the remote ID module. The idea behind the remote ID module, you simply buy some electronics, you plug it into your model, you turn it on, and it broadcasts a remote ID signal, and you can go ahead and fly. The problem is there's not really today any affordable plug-and-play remote ID module. Probably the closest thing we're going to get is the Spectrum Sky ID system. That went on sale August 25th, 2023. I ordered mine that day, but it's going to take about 2 weeks to get here. So everybody says, well, what happens on September 16th if we don't have the remote ID modules, we don't have a FRIA at our flying site, and so forth? Now, I get a lot of comments on this website, on my YouTube channel, which I appreciate, and there was an increasing amount of chatter to include some actual YouTube videos, primarily by the drone community. I don't know why for the drones, but these people are saying that the September 16th date has been canceled. They just state that. And I say to myself, well, that's kind of interesting. I mean, that's a pretty important statement. Do you have anything in writing, anything from authority? Nope, I heard. I read it on the internet. So what I decided to do last night was ask that question of the FAA. And so I went on FAA.gov to the drone section. There is a unmanned aircraft systems section with a help desk, and I sent them an email and I got the response back. And I'm going to tell you what the FAA says directly on the September 16th start date for remote ID. So this is the email. So what I wrote last night: Dear FAA, I'm an RC model pilot getting quite close to September 16th, remote ID. I said the FRIA process is slow with some denials, a lot in the queue, as I just mentioned to you. And the Spectrum Sky ID module has come on sale just literally a week or so ago, but nobody actually has one. So my question is, will there be any sort of grace period for RC pilots to comply with remote ID after September 16th? So Steve received that last night. I sent it to him at 8 o'clock at night. He gave me a reply an hour and 15 minutes later, 9:15 p.m. On a Friday night. This is on the Labor Day weekend. He gave me a reply, and this is from the FAA UAS Support Center. All right. So Steve says, I quote, this is from the FAA. The FAA is aware of the concerns. We are considering options with respect to relief from the September 16th compliance date. We will have more to share with you in the near future on FAA websites and social media. Steve. So directly from the FAA, they're fully aware that they're getting jammed up. They are figuring out what to do. Nobody, to include the FAA, knows what to do. I would almost guarantee you there's going to be some sort of grace period. They won't change the date, but a grace period says you don't have to comply with it for X number of days. It's just not going to be any enforcement action. That happens a lot with these major programs. A lot of people said, well, the FAA should have gotten that right. Well, they set the date 2.5 years ago. There was environmental reviews, technology, industry, the FRIA approval process that nobody had done before. They missed the date, okay? So they're aware of that. I know from my time in Washington, D.C., this answer has to be coordinated at the civilian equivalent of a 4-star level. These people are busy. They've got a lot going on. And it's just a very involved process to get the approval for whatever the FAA is going to do. But again, the final thing from Steve, we're considering options with respect to relief from the September 16th compliance date. We'll have more to share with you in the near future on FAA websites and social media. So there you have it. We're 2 weeks away from September 16th. I am confident the FAA will give us some sort of grace period to comply either with FRIAs or remote ID modules. More to follow as we learn it from folks at the FAA, Academy of Model Aeronautics, and so forth. Thank you for tuning in, and have a good weekend. Take care.